subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Namaste, konnichiwa. Welcome to the Thenupurtewarishow. And today too, we have our special guest, Dr. Satoru Nagao. And today we are going to talk about Afghanistan, the problem Afghanistan facing. It's not only the Afghanistan's problem, it is world problem now. Dr. Nagao, welcome to the Thenupurtewarishow again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me. It is an honor for me to join, and exciting indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Very kind of you to say that. And first thing, we'd love to know that what is the Japan's reaction on Afghanistan problem, the Taliban taking over Afghanistan?
Reaction is very simple. Surprised. We're surprised. Taliban won. We haven't expected because the US is very strong. And Japan spent more than $7 billion last 20 years to rebuild Afghanistan. And many Japanese improved. And not only the US and Japan, India's contribution, other countries' contribution, very big in Afghanistan. International society cooperate and support rebuilding Afghanistan. And it looks like this process has succeeded. But suddenly, after the NATO troops, including US, or led by US, withdraw from Afghanistan, Taliban took over Afghanistan. So what happened? Its reaction. Generally, Japanese TV do not broadcast or do not inform the Japanese what happened in Afghanistan. Especially during the Olympics, the people only focus on Olympics. They're running, they're swimming, not related to Afghanistan. So, but after that, they start to inform the people what happened in Afghanistan, and the US is withdrawing, the Taliban is winning. So suddenly people are surprised. That is what happened in Japan indeed.
Exactly. So how Quad is going to face it? Because as I know that the US president is kind of not talking about China these days. So how Quad is going to take it?
Of course, Quad is progressed very much. In March, there are the Quad summit. And in September, the Quad summit again, and the face-to-face, first time the face-to-face meeting that has happened. So Quad is progress. But change in point is the statement came from Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. Before the withdrawal from Afghanistan, he repeatedly emphasized China's threat. And every time, China. For example, the high-tech war, a trade war, this is a symbolic word of the policy of the Trump administration, Donald Trump. But since Joe Biden sworn in as a president, he continued this policy. So, and in the every statement, we can hear China. For example, the human rights issues of Uyghur, human rights issues of Hong Kong, or democracy-related issues of Hong Kong, or the high-tech related with CFO of the Huawei as arrested in Canada because of the request from the United States, or the boycott of the Beijing Olympics is a very big voice in the United States. And every time Joe Biden says China's threat. Despite this, after the US withdrew from Afghanistan and Taliban took over Afghanistan, when we checked his statement, for example, you want to say the Quad Summit, but the Quad Summit in September, there was no word related with China. And in the United Nations, he addressed his policy, but there is no word of China. In this other statement, when we checked, we cannot find the name of China. Of course, in the contents, there is a sentence related to China. So protecting the democracy, respecting human rights, this is a value-related issue. Or South China Sea, East China Sea, Indian Ocean, Indo-China border area, this statement related to the China's activity, military activities. And he promised to protect Taiwan. That is directly related to the China. That's true. But Joe Biden's haven't claimed or haven't point out the clear name of the country he is targeting in the public statement. Before and after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, it has changed. Now, there's a possibility the popularity of the Joe Biden has lost after the Taliban took over Afghanistan, just after the US withdrew from Afghanistan. So that is the reason he need to win the midterm election next year. In this case, he need to recover the economy. And to recover the economy, he want to recouple the trade with China. Of course, in the long run, this is a competition United States must win against China. So long-term policy hasn't changed. But in the short run, tactically, he want to change the way with China. So instead of decoupling, Biden choose decoupling. D or D, no difference. So that is short-term policy, and he is seeking. Of course, will China accept it? I don't know. Indeed, China cannot, because in the long run, China need to fight. For example, just yesterday, one report published in the United States pointed out that China is increasing the stockpile of their nuclear weapon from 200 to 1,000 in the 2030. 1,000 is a big number because currently US has 3,750 nuclear warheads. So this means that China is catching up a very fast pace. US need to deal with Russia and China at the same time. And because of the extended deterrence, another word is nuclear umbrella. For example, to deter the nuclear attack against Japan or other US allies, US need to maintain some certain number of the nuclear weapon for the extended deterrence. So total number is 3,750. It looks like this is 4 times bigger than the China's nuclear stockpile, even if the 2030, but that's not true. This is minimum number the United States needs. So under such kind of situation, the US need to deal with China in the long run. That's true. But in the short run, to win the election are a little different. That's what happened, and Japan is worrying because Japan waits the US to choose a strong stance against China. If the US moderate their stance, China's stance toward Japan will change, I think. Because a little interesting point is during the US choose a strong stance toward China, China's policy toward Japan is very moderate. But when US is moderate toward China, China's stance toward Japan is hawkish, aggressive. So indeed, for Japan, strong stance of the United States is beneficial. So withdrawal from Afghanistan or Taliban took over Afghanistan affects the US policy toward China. That is one of the concerns. That's true.
So is Japan worried about it? Because, even the America had their soldiers in Afghanistan and they did withdraw all of a sudden, definitely. And Japan is quite dependent on America. So is Japan a bit worried about it? The future of the country military, Japan's military strength.
It is true. In the long run, situation will change because because U.S. troops in Afghanistan could be the hostage of the China or Russia if the U.S. maintained the troops in Afghanistan. What kind of logic I need to explain? To supply the U.S. troops in Afghanistan, the United States needs the country around Afghanistan as a supply line. Especially Pakistan is important supply line for the U.S. troops in Afghanistan. But Pakistan cooperated with China, and the U.S.-China competition has escalated. In this case, China asked Pakistan to not cooperate with the United States, and the supply line is under threat of the China's influence in Pakistan. So that's why if the U.S. troops will stay a long time in Afghanistan, China can get the car to threaten this supply line to deal with the United States in the competition. So if the US choose the Russian route, Russian can use the card. If the US use the Central Asia and the Turkish, this is the route. Of course, Turkish has a card. Of course, Turkish is a NATO member, not a threat for the United States. But at the same time, because of such a situation, well, Iran route is also there. But because of such kind of situation, if U.S. troops staying in Afghanistan, U.S. need to deal with these countries: Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, China, Russia. But when U.S. need to deal with, need to win the competition with China, Russia support China, Pakistan is cooperate with China very deeply, and Iran does not like the United States, and Iran cooperates with China. So U.S. do not wish to deal with this country. So under such kind of situation, withdraw from Afghanistan is a good method to deal with China. That's true. But at the same time, the U.S. I think the U.S. hasn't expected such kind of disastrous thing. If the Afghanistan government maintains their government 1 year, at least some months, U.S. withdraw from Afghanistan is not such kind of a disastrous withdrawal. But it has really happened. So U.S. hasn't expected, I believe.
Yeah, that's true. So do you think it was really suddenly doing it? Definitely, as you explained, that it was difficult for US to keep their troops, and they could have been the hostages of China, as China is supported by Pakistan. So, but still, humanitarian ground, even, do you think it was not right thing to do at that point? And it was such a disaster. All of a sudden, Taliban took over. And we just feel like Afghanistan is going back to the Stone Age.
Going back to the Stone Age, Japanese or US, Japan, or any international community, including, of course, India, do not wish it. And still, Taliban hasn't committed such kind of atrocities yet. But we know what happened 20 years ago. In that time, Taliban is brutal, cruel. They can maintain their security, but that is only good things they have done. So violate the human rights, especially the ladies, and they ban many things, movie, dancing, singing, sports events,
even education.
Yeah, even education.
Yes.
They say they legitimize such kind of policy. In their logic, people should spend the time to learn Quran. But even if the other Islamic countries who learn the Quran well, they did not choose such kind of the strong policy, cruel policy. So it is not logical for us. Many Islamic countries admit the sports, admit the singing, admit women to work outside. So we cannot understand why Taliban choose such kind of things. Maybe this is not Islam. This is based on their local rule. And this local rule is a little strange, a big difference with us. So if the Taliban try to make the Afghanistan the situation 20 years ago, it will be the tragedy of the people in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and on the humanity as well. And as I said, that the Quran and all these things, but they say that it is written on Quran that you should not sing, you should not dance, you should not do anything, you should not drink, you should not dance, you should not, they say all these things. Though I haven't read, but even in Iran also, you'll they're not very free to do all these things, and even few Islamic countries. But anyway, they are not that rigid. They are not that strict as Taliban. Taliban is. So, so what actually would be the future, like especially the Asian future, because we all are interconnected. India is facing Pakistan terrorism, and Japan is facing China, and in Afghanistan, China and Pakistan both there. So how we can, like, what is going to happen actually? Definitely we cannot predict from now, but still, what is your guess? Like, what, because India also so much money they invested, Japan also so much money they invested. Definitely we all wanted Afghanistan to grow, to have all the facilities, but what is actually going to happen according to you, your opinion?
Okay, about the inside of Afghanistan, the lack of the transparency that we cannot identify so exactly, that's true. And it depends on Taliban, that's true. But strategically, there are another concern. Japan is located far from Afghanistan, so Japan do not need to worry so much indeed. But world is connected, and it looks like the world situation is a domino related. Once one piece fall, another piece will fall out too. So, for example, Japan's concern is related with India. There are three concern scenarios we can expect. First one is Taliban failed to govern Afghanistan, or the intendedly Taliban failed to govern Afghanistan, and Afghanistan will be the hotbed of terrorists. In this case, these terrorists can expand their activity not only in Afghanistan but also in Kashmir or other area. When we check the fatality related with the terrorism in Kashmir, we can identify one connection between Afghanistan and Kashmir. After the U.S. troops withdraw, USSR, Soviet troops withdraw from Afghanistan in 1989, fatality in the Kashmir has risen. So, and after the U.S. start to intervene in Afghanistan, fatality caused by terrorists in Kashmir has declined, start to decline. So, up and down. In Kashmir, fatality in Kashmir is related with the situation in Afghanistan. Why? Maybe there's a possibility there is a connection between the terrorist activity in Kashmir and Afghanistan, and Pakistan's intelligence service, Army Intelligence Service, ISI, improved this move. Pakistan's involvement is, there are plenty of evidence, but I cannot explain. which is direct evidence of this chart, the rise and fall, and the fatality is Kashmir. But it has really happened when we check the number of the fatality in Kashmir. That's true. So if the U.S. withdraw from Afghanistan, what will happen? It is easy to expect the terrorists or Islamic radicals in Afghanistan can come to the Kashmir and start terrorist activities. That is one of the serious concerns. That is the first scenario. And another nightmare scenario is not only the Kashmir, but also the Pakistan itself, these terrorists or Islamic extremists expand their influence. If the Islamic extremists or terrorists took Pakistan itself or the nuclear facility in Pakistan, they can control the nuclear weapon. That is another concern. Of course, Pakistan government denies such kind of possibility, but this is one kind of nightmare scenario. It is true. And the third nightmare scenario is more strategic indeed. Taliban needs foreign support anyway, even if the international community do not wish to support. If the Taliban accepts support from Pakistan, yeah, it has really happened. And Pakistan is supporting from China. And if China supports Taliban also, we can see China, Pakistan, Taliban alliance. Who will face such kind of situation? Of course, India. India will face such kind of situation. This alliance is more stronger than China, Pakistan alone. So, in this case, India needs to share or need more resources to prepare these three scenarios. Terrorists came to the Kashmir, or the Pakistan could be the terrorist nuclear state, or the China, Pakistan, Taliban alliances. If this scenario has really happened, India need to deal with it. India need to share more resources to defend from this threat. But view from Japan, that is concern. Why? Japan is far from Afghanistan, but that is concern. Because if India cannot share enough resources in the seaside, the Indian Ocean, or the, at least land border with China, so counter-China strategy, India is very important ally for Japan, even if India do not use word of ally. So if India cannot share enough resources to do this, in this case, how to deal with China will be the matter for Japan. So that is the reason this is concerned. And I need to add one more thing indeed. These are the concerns, but indeed, I should point it at one good thing too. Good thing is, if the U.S. pro-U.S. citizen in Afghanistan completely evacuate from Afghanistan, United States do not need Pakistan anymore because U.S. troops will not stay in Afghanistan. This means that U.S. do not need a supply line for them. And evacuation has ended means that U.S. do not need to open the route too. And for India, for U.S., indeed, the U.S.-Pakistan relation is irritated relation. Because there is a relation between U.S. and Pakistan, India cannot trust the United States completely. And because the U.S. needs Pakistan, the U.S. cannot support India fully. So, but now U.S. do not need Pakistan means that for U.S. and India relation, U.S.-India relation, there's no problem now. That is maybe good aspect of this. So in the long run, withdraw from Afghanistan, U.S. troops withdraw from Afghanistan will affect the security of India. But three nightmare scenario, that's true. But at the same time, related to the Pakistan, there is one benefit. That will happen in the long run, I think.
Yeah, you rightly said, yes. If they don't have their troops, so US really, they don't need Pakistan anymore. So that time,
Simply said, yes.
yeah, that time the India and US can be closer. They can trust each other, kind of. Yeah, at least India can trust US, kind of, because since Pakistan was there, so India could not trust US at all.
Yeah.
So, as you said, like Pakistan, China, and Afghanistan, like this is a very contradictory situation. You know why? Because Pakistan is Islamic country and Afghanistan is very strict Islam. Definitely, Taliban. I'm talking about. Like they even don't let the women go to school. And here, they're Islam. Their life is all about Islam. They don't know anything but Islam. Now here, China does not allow any Muslim like who follow Islam to practice Islam. China even removed the application from phone of Quran. China don't let them pray. China don't let them to have beard. China don't let them, to have mosque also. So it is China is totally against the Islam. Like totally, we don't need Islam here, kind of. And Taliban and Pakistan, they're practicing and totally rigid, totally the Islam, actually what they call real Islam. So how Pakistan and Taliban, they're collaborating with China, who is totally against Islam. Don't you think it's kind of against their principle, Taliban's principle?
That is a little weak point of this alliance, that's true. But at the same time, for China, security in the Xinjiang Uyghur is a matter. And they asked Taliban to crack down the East Turkestan movement in Pakistan, and the Taliban governed Afghanistan. So, so in the Pakistan, of course, they asked the Pakistan government, and in the Afghanistan, they asked the Taliban to crack down. And so for China, the most important thing is how to maintain the security in the Xinjiang Uyghur. And for China, indeed, China has a dream to open the One Belt, One Road initiative, reach the one kind of the new type of Silk Road through Afghanistan. If that will happen, of course, it is a good thing for China. And there are the mineral mines in Afghanistan. Some of them are source of income for Taliban, indeed. Not only the opium or drugs related deal. Indeed, Taliban has some mines, mineral mines. But of course, China wants to access such kind of natural resources in Afghanistan. And because of the long-term civil war or conflict inside of Afghanistan, still there are plenty of the mineral mines in Afghanistan, and no one committed and developed. So China want to get the right to access it. But at the same time, China do not wish to be the next great power who lose much resources in Afghanistan. So that's why the stable Afghanistan is interest for China. So about the Islam or religion-related policies inside or outside, China's policies are a little different, completely opposite indeed. You pointed out. That's true. But at the same time, as a realist view, this is beneficial for China, they believe, I think.
Okay.
That's the answer for your question, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. So what is the Prime Minister, our new Prime Minister, Mr. Kishida? I think he's very much, he has, foreign policy knowledge on all these things. So what is his reaction? Because he just came, took over. He just got the, became the Prime Minister. What he's thinking about it? Anything he has said about it, about Afghanistan problem?
Okay, if the Taliban, if now is the time, before Taliban took over Afghanistan, Of course, Japan do not wish the Taliban took over Afghanistan.
Mhm.
But now all Taliban already took Afghanistan. In this case, Japan do not wish the Taliban to be radicalized like the 20 years ago. So Japan support humanitarian assistance through the United Nations and Japan cooperate with other international community to support people in Afghanistan. Try to persuade the Taliban to moderate their policy. That is all Japan can do indeed. And Japan is far from Afghanistan. In this, indeed, Japan do not have very strong and deep interest in Afghanistan indeed. So that's why Japan is waiting the reaction from Taliban. And Japan cooperate with the US, India, other international communities, and as a humanitarian assistance, Japan involved it. But strategic interests, Japan does not need involve it.
Okay. So the last question would be like, I'm also very curious. Why do you think Pakistan is supporting Taliban? Like Pakistan is the only country who is directly supporting since the very first day, and they helped Taliban also. So why do you think is it?
This is related to national security of Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
When we check the map, you can easily identify Pakistan as a country from north to south relatively long, but from east to west relatively short.
Yes.
Militarily, what is this geography indicate? Simply said, Taliban, sorry, Pakistan do not have the space to rebuild their defense line. I need to explain more detail from now. India is strong country and great power. And when we check the conventional military power, tanks, fighter jet, howitzers like that, in this case, India can win. India can penetrate Pakistan territory. Even if the Pakistan try to stop it, Pakistan army try to stop it. So in this case, Pakistan need to rebuild the defense line from backside. First defense line has penetrated by India. After that, they need to rebuild the defense line in the backside of the Pakistan. But when we check the map, there's no space to rebuild it because a long defense line, but strategic depth equals depth is very short. There is no depth. After penetration, they cannot rebuild it. So how to defend Pakistan if you are the general of Pakistan? Firstly, they build a nuclear weapon. If India penetrates, they will use a nuclear weapon inside of their territory. Even if inside of territory, they can use it to stop the India's armed forces. That is the first answer. Second answer is supporting the terrorists and reduce Indian military resources and try to maintain the military balance. But there is a third option. Third option is if Pakistan expand their influence in Afghanistan, Afghanistan will be the backside to rebuild their defense line. If there is a pro-Pakistan government in Afghanistan, Afghanistan is located backside of the Pakistan, and Pakistan can expand their strategic depth. Simply said, rebuild their defense line. There is enough space to rebuild defense line inside of Pakistan and support it from the backside of Afghanistan. That's why they try to create a pro-Pakistan government in Afghanistan. And when we check the ethnic connectivity between Pakistan and Afghanistan, there are the Pashtun connection. Pashtun people is the main ethnic of the Taliban. So by using the Pashtun connection, Pakistan army, especially the intelligence section, ISI of the Pakistan army, try to expand influence to establish the pro-Pakistan government in Afghanistan. That's why Taliban is important and Pakistan support it. That is the reason. So for Pakistan to deal with India, they need a pro-Pakistan government in Afghanistan. That is the logic of the Pakistan.
Yeah, that is logic of the Pakistan, but actually the real Afghan people, they really don't like it. They don't like Pakistan. And I'm not talking about Taliban, the before the government was there, the real Afghanistan government or the Afghan people also, they don't like Pakistan. And the Pakistan is having the problem in Balochistan also. They want their own free Balochistan.
Yeah. Multi-ethnic country. Both Pakistan and Afghanistan are multi-ethnic, but especially the Afghanistan, the Tajik, Uzbek, Hazaras, so many ethnic. It looks like very complex. So mosaic,
Yes.
something like that. So that is the reason the great power failed to govern Afghanistan. Because even if they got the popularity from one ethnic, the other ethnic are enemy of them, and every time situation is a confusing one. So that is a strong and weak point of Afghanistan. So when Pakistan tried to establish the pro-Pakistan government in Afghanistan, and by using the popularity in passions, other ethnics will not support Pakistan's involvement in Afghanistan. So that's what happened and what will happen.
Exactly. But whatever is happening, it's not very good for the humanity. Especially the women, girls, they're losing all the freedom. I think even the men also. The real story we don't know because they are not transparent. What is happening? I'm hearing that from Afghan people that they're really killing inside. Whoever is protesting or whoever is saying words against them, they're immediately killing them. So so we hope for the best. We really want this Afghanistan to be really a free country where everybody can go to school, the women can have their freedom. And it's not in our hand, but we can only just pray and just wait and watch what happens.
Yeah. So what kind of policy is best? It is not identified. US and European country or Japan has the right to freeze money Afghan government received from international community. So currently the freeze, but Taliban said because they are rightful governments, they have right to use it. So international committee has a card. So to deal with the situation in Afghanistan, international committee are negotiating with Taliban by using this freeze budget of the former Afghanistan government. That's true, but at the same time, people are starving. There's no money. Economy is collapsing in Afghanistan. Without money, and part of the money is we are freezed. Part of the money they need is freezed by us. So how to negotiate, how to persuade the Taliban, or how to protect the human rights issue in Afghanistan? This is a very difficult negotiation. Difficult persuasion. So there is no answer. If something has if something good has really happened, it will be the real answer. But currently, it is not easy to give huge money to the Taliban because we haven't got a good enough sign to prove Taliban is moderate government. So without such kind of the evidence, it is not easy for us to give the Taliban the money.
Exactly. Maybe that money would not reach to real needy. They will misuse that money only for their own weapons, buying weapons and all these things. So So
Yeah.
so definitely, thank you so much for giving so much insight of this Taliban problem, Afghanistan problem. I really learned a lot of things, and I'm sure the viewers got to know a lot of things, especially the Japan's point of view. And it is always my honor to have you on my show.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And Japan's view is maybe it is a few chance to listen to, not only for the Indian, but also for Japanese indeed. So thank you very much for asking. And thank you very much for organizing this TV program.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
Namaste
Thank you.
and おやすみなさい。
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 Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.